in the dark too.
You're all set.
Thank you.
Sometimes it's just, thank you so much, Athena.
Counselor Ette is now here.
All right,
also.
I'm gonna try. Let's see if it works. Amazing. So Counselor Ette, if my internet knocks me out and off of this call completely, as vice chair, you get to take the wheel. And thank you for joining us. I'm going to start by calling the meeting to order. It is 6:32 on May 13th. I'm also going to open my kombucha. It is kombucha. I can prove that. I know it's always questionable when there's a koozie. I'm going to call on each counselor to make sure that they can hear and be heard, starting with Lynn Reesmer.
Present.
Pat DeAngelis.
President against my will.
Oh, so grateful though. And Counselor Ette.
Present without kombucha.
I'm so sorry. I think it is technically my fiance's, so don't tell her that I took it. And I am present as well. So we are, we've got a couple things that we have to do tonight. And I believe that Michelle Miller had said she was planning to join us today to talk through the AHRA charge changes. I know Counselor Lord is not able to be here tonight. I'm going to keep an eye on the attendees, but in the absence of Michelle, I want us to start. We can kind of maybe jump around a little bit and move on as quick as possible. I know some folks aren't feeling super well today. Sorry, I'm realizing I'm in the wrong place to pull up the agenda. We would normally start with public comment. There are currently no attendees with us, and so we will carry on with the joyfulness of the rest of our meeting. You can tell when I start to use a lot of adjectives that I'm looking for something on my computer. All right.
Shall we do the
Agenda.
proclamations first? Make sure we get those done.
Yeah, that is my current thought, and then we'll move on.
Thank you.
Move on to other things. All right, so why don't I will share my screen, and I'm going to have us start with Race Amity Day. I'm seeing that in my list first. So I'm going to pull it up. There we go. Okay. Going through, I believe, Lynn, these are the only council sponsors. Is that correct? Oh, you're muted.
Unless others want to join. And I'll also tell you that they're looking for counselors to be there to help with the awards.
Okay.
When is it? When is it?
June 8th.
Yeah.
I'm out of town, unfortunately. All right, let's start in. Whereas, first whereas. Okay. Counselor Ette's hand. There we go. Counselor Ette.
I was just wondering about the pluribus unum, if it would be, it's italicized.
That's a great call. I think you're right.
It is.
And let me make sure I'm tracking my changes. Sorry. Okay. Is it the humankind or of humankind?
Of humankind.
Of humankind.
Okay. Next, whereas the Amherst Town Council. I'm not suggesting a change in this right now, but I do think that something that stands out to me is I think it's important to clarify what resolution proclamation, because resolutions and proclamations are not politically, they're not bylaws, right? And I I don't have a problem with this statement necessarily, but this to me reads as if we bound ourselves to action, when in reality, through resolutions and proclamations, we bind ourselves to beliefs or values. So
Hmm.
Do you want to know the name of the resolution?
I know that it's referenced a lot in the AHRA report, and I have it in the back of my brain, but
I
I'm
can
not
look it up.
suggesting a change here. I do think that we should put the name of it in, Lynn. If you're able to find it, that'd be great. But
Okay.
I worry if folks remember back to the traumatic experience. Councilor Arte, you were not on the council at this time, but the traumatic experience of navigating the plant medicine resolution, we talked a lot about how proclamations and resolutions are not legally binding, right? They are not bylaws. And so I just want to make sure that we are consistently talking about them in the same way. That's all. I don't, again, it's not that big of a deal in this, but, and maybe I'm alone in that thought, but it popped into my brain.
Mhm.
We can come back to that to add the title in.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next whereas the town of Amherst acting on its commitment.
It should be full stop and then.
Where are you? Sorry.
Oh, we're still on the previous one.
No, we're not. We're on this one. You're right.
Okay, no, I jumped even to the one.
Oh, you jumped further. Oh, okay.
Where are we now? I'm sorry, I'm confused.
Okay, we're on this one.
Okay.
Was it the resolution in the aftermath of the death of George Floyd?
Yeah. Was it called that?
It was called Resolution in the Aftermath of the Death of Mr. George Floyd.
Oh, it's referred to there, or there's a different one then. There's something. Pat
That
was
was-
one of the
That was the first day of June. No, that's not the right one.
Yeah, no, I,
Is it?
December 7th.
Right.
yeah,
I'm working on it. Hold on.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, I really don't remember.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
I have it right here.
All
What
right.
is it
Is no, that's not it. I'm sorry. Jesus.
Okay, let's keep going and then we'll come back. Councilor Ate, you said you had something in this one?
Here we go.
Odd.
It should
All right.
it should end with a full stop and we can delete the and then
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you. You are right. Okay. Lynn, what was it called?
Okay. Are you ready? A resolution affirming the
Wait, hang on.
town.
Sorry. Where are we writing this?
Maybe it's a footnote.
Or should we just say the Amherst Town Council on December 7th, 2020 in the resolution, blah, 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 blah?
In a resolution affirming the town of Amherst's commitment to end structural racism and achieve racial equity for Black residents.
That's the whole title of the resolution?
It is.
Okay, whereas the Amherst Town on December passed a resolution.
That starts with the
Uh-huh.
title A, resolution.
Oops. I'm wondering if we should shift this to say where it demonstrated, I don't know why that's breaking up in the line, but where it demonstrated its commitment to or expressed its commitment to.
That's affirming our, well, we're saying we're affirming this commitment. So it's
It's kind of redundant now, isn't it?
yeah, it is.
So let's see, if we put the title in.
Which called, no. Pass a rather from the town as contends to achieve racial equity for Black residents. Well, Whereas on the Amherst Town Council in December 2020 resolved or to eradicate, resolved to, or chose to work to eradicate the effects. We've passed a resolution called a certain thing in which we resolve to eradicate. I don't know, that's so bulky. Come on, Counselor Ette,
Yeah, go ahead, Counselor Ette.
So
you're good at this.
no, I'm not. The I see what and I'm saying, which is that when we use the word resolved, it carries more weight than merely the fact that we agreed on a resolution. And so we should steer away from using the word resolved. In that case, what if we delete everything from systematically racist and jump right to engage in? So perhaps the resolution was the town's commitment to engage in individual and collective.
That
So-
makes some sense.
The Amherst Town Council on December 7, 2020 passed a resolution affirming the town of Amherst's commitment to end structural racism and achieve racial equity for Black residents, in which it resolved to engage in individual and collective work to understand racial prejudice and the historical and present role racism plays in Amherst and the community at large in order to better lead a town which is safe, welcoming, and which is a safe, welcoming, and equitable place for all people. And I think in this case, town should not be capitalized, but I'll stop. Margaret.
I would agree with you.
Okay, thank you.
And just, should we do anything with the actual title? Should we put quotes on it, or?
I think that I did the drop caps to try to indicate, but I could also put it in italics.
No, I see what you did. That's good.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with the spacing, but once we're done with track changes, I'll fix it. Counselor Ette?
We're still left with the redundancy of the council passing a resolution where it resolves.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So
perhaps.
we affirmed
Yep.
with that resolution.
Which affirmed.
Yeah.
Affirm the resolution affirming.
Affirming, no.
No.
I think what
I meant it affirmed.
what so which affirmed
In which it affirmed to
Which should
engage.
affirm, not resolved, yeah.
Yeah.
but does
But
that
we
make
have affirmed twice then.
Yeah,
we do
but
have-
that there, it's in the title, so I think it's
Oh, it's
okay
also in
to
the
have it.
title. Okay. Someone bring out a thesaurus.
sorry, what if we just say in which it I mean, I guess if you pass a resolution, you are resolving
Okay.
in that it resolve, as long as it's not resolving to, I don't know, maybe I'm backtracking on myself, but like resolve to engage in feels different than resolving to eradicate.
Mhm,
I
yeah,
agree. Yeah,
yeah.
that's true.
All right. We've jumped a little bit, but we're back now at this last one. Now, therefore, and the we don't typically say Amherst Town Council. We typically just say president.
You're right.
Anything else here? Is there a motion to find the,
So moved.
what are you moving?
Define the Town of Amherst proclamation recognizing June 8th, 2025 as Race Amity Day as clear, consistent, and actionable.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay,
That was a second and a third.
I love that. Love it. All right.
You only need to vote on it, then we're done.
I know, exactly. No, we gotta do Pride. All right, so, oh yeah, I got you. I'll fourth it. All right, so can't do all those in favor. I'm gonna go ahead and call the vote. Counselor Ette?
Aye.
Lynn?
Aye.
Pat?
Aye.
I am an aye as well, so we are 4 in favor, none opposed, 1 absent. I will save this and send it to Lynn. One moment, please. Okay. All right, next up, we're gonna do Pride Month. Okay. Council sponsors. Community sponsors. Does Evan know he's a sponsor, Pat?
I didn't call him this time, but he has been. Yes, leave him on, or I will.
I will. I just was making sure he knew. All right. First, whereas. I put a lot of facts in this one when I edited it
Yeah.
a few years ago, so
Yeah, it's pretty good though.
it's meaty. It's meaty. All right. Second, whereas. Counselor Ette, if you find something, we can always go back. But know that I'm very protective of this one.
Why? And whereas, 21.
Whereas since the Stonewall Uprising.
Yeah, I'm past that already.
All right. Counselor Ette?
There's a space between whereas and 21, and it ends with a
Yes,
full stop.
right.
And so it should be semicolon and end.
Okay. Thank you. Whereas we celebrate. What? Did I miss something?
Nope, 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 nope.
Whereas the LGBTQ plus community. Counselor Ette?
I think there's a word missing there. The LGBTQ plus community has and continues to face, has faced and continues. Yes.
Right.
Okay. Whereas while there has been.
Yep.
Whereas we remain.
How about whereas we must remain vigilant and act? I don't know. Never mind.
Okay, for it. Whereas we recognize. Whereas the town of Amherst values. Whereas Amherst values. We say the town of Amherst before, should we say it again?
Probably, I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. Whereas we affirm our support. Now therefore.
Mhm.
Be it further proclaimed. Be it further proclaimed again. And we now know this is going to be, what did we just said, June 2nd? Right, Pat? Is that right?
I think so. Let me look. Monday, June 2nd?
Yeah.
Is that what we agreed?
Is what we agreed on, and it was at 5:30
Yeah.
or 5 o'clock?
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm gonna double check this. I think it was 5:30, but give me 1 second to just confirm.
And
5:30, yeah.
okay. And this is the very first, it's the inaugural Pride March, I think, and our very first Amherst Pride March or something, or yeah, inaugural would sound better, I guess.
Okay, perfect. I'll add the first initial, so consistent, okay. And this was on the other side, and the other one, so we'll put it on this side on there. All right, any last edits here? Otherwise, I will move to find the Town of Amherst proclamation recognizing June as lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, queer, plus LGBTQ plus Pride Month. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. And I'm gonna call the vote. Pat,
Aye.
Lynn? Lynn's muted.
Aye.
Counselor Ette?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well, so it passes 4 in favor, none opposed, 1 absent. Okay, we have one more proclamation tonight. We've got the Memorial Day. And, okay. Lynn, are there any other council sponsors or community sponsors that you'd like to add?
Anybody
Like-
here who wants to join, please do. Oh no, wait a minute. I think Jennifer Taub is also on this.
All right. And are there any community sponsors?
Yeah, what would we call the oh, the
Oh, the veterans, Steve.
yeah,
I believe
let me
it's
see.
Uh,
Let me see if I can find it. Whether it's like the Office of Veterans Affairs or something like that.
what it is, I believe. It's called Veterans. His title is Director of Veteran Services.
Yeah, so
Oh my God, I can't spell anything. Veterans, right? Veteran.
Central Hampshire Veterans Services.
Is it apostrophe? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, veterans is not veterans. Veterans is okay. All right. Here we go. Whereas second whereas after World War I.
Mhm.
Third whereas renamed Memorial Day. Counselor Ette?
I'm thinking of whether clarification is needed. Decoration Day, if I'm correct, gets renamed as Memorial Day.
I think right. You want to specify that out here?
It was left hanging, especially because the last Monday in May, and I didn't know if Decoration Day was the last Monday in May. If it was, then it makes sense that it would be renamed. Everything else stays the same and the name changes.
Could we change it to say celebrating the first Decoration Day, which would later be renamed Memorial Day? That way we don't have to mess with this whole paragraph's grammar.
Yeah.
Okay. So then we would have this one start as Memorial Day, the last one, or we could just say the last Monday in May.
Yeah.
Is when people celebrate Memorial Day and remember and honor the memory of all the Can we just say all those who fought and died?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I moved on, but is there any issue with the changes that we just made?
No, I think that clarifies it. I just looked up Decoration Day and it is consistent. It's just a name change.
That's good to know. Whereas throughout our country's history, okay. Whereas the residents of Amherst whereas this history includes whereas the names of all
Is it time to get rid of the words recently restored? Just say restored.
probably whereas the legacy whereas it is appropriate and now therefore. All right. Are there any? Lynn, some of these have your at first initial, some of them don't. Do you have a preference?
No, it put the J in, it would be best.
All right. Is there a motion to find the Town of Amherst proclamation recognizing May 2025 as Memorial Day?
I move that the Town of Amherst proclamation recognizing May 2025 as Memorial Day.
You better have
That's-
May 2025,
May 25,
Oh, yeah.
the 26th, right?
26th,
Ooh, we almost just missed that.
uh, 2025 as Memorial Day. It still needs a
I
comma.
don't think you need 26th. Can't you just say recognizing May 26th, 2025 as Memorial Day?
I think that's
Thought it
correct,
sounded better,
but it would still have a comma there.
Yeah,
But the no comma after 2025.
I will delete this, but in my defense, I thought it went there and then Microsoft Word agreed with me. So I'm
Oh, interesting. Okay.
okay, well, I could be wrong. Certainly-
all right. So
Okay.
Lynn, what
I
would
move
you
that
make your
we
motion?
declare the Town of Amherst proclamation recognizing May 26, 2025 as Memorial Day, clear, consistent, and actionable.
Is there a second?
Second.
I will second it.
I knew I could beat you.
Right. Uh, okay. All right. And that's that.
Can we go home now?
So we can see what else is on our docket really quickly. Hang on.
What?
And let's talk about what we've got to do here. And I think we can get through a couple more things maybe. So I'm like hesitant to bring this up. I'm not seeing the actual agenda in the packet. So I'm not sure what order.
No, I don't think you did put an agenda in, but
Okay. Well, anyway, all right. So we do have continued work on the Amherst Black Reparations Committee charge to work on. And then we have the town manager evaluation process and the rules of procedure. Was anyone able to take a look at let's start with the rules of procedure. Was anyone able to take, no, not yet. Okay. So please, if you could plan to do that for our next meeting, that would be great. There in SharePoint, there is a Word document, and I did send that to the council as well, to mark up and give back. Lynn?
I was going to suggest we look at the
town manager.
no, the list of liaisons.
Oh,
That
okay.
was the next step. I just wanted to make sure no one had done the rules of procedure first while we were still fresh as a daisy. So briefly, we have our next meeting. By our next meeting, please go through the rules of procedure and look for any substantive changes and track those in the Word document that's in SharePoint so that we can really look at the content when we come together. I will try to do that thing where I merge the documents. So if you can send me your edits, I can merge them and we can discuss all of them at once. That's the vision there. Our next meeting is the 27th. So
I thought, why is it? I thought it was the 3rd.
second and where are we?
I could be wrong. As I said earlier,
Um,
I don't have it listed.
hang on, let me look up our calendar.
I think it's the 27th.
Yeah, I think so too. Thanks.
And then do we have a meeting on June 3rd?
No. June 10th.
Right.
Oh, I got the whole schedule wrong. That's interesting. Okay.
I can send it back out.
No, that's okay. That's all right.
It doesn't
Good
quite go
enough.
every other. It may have been because there was an extra week.
Yeah, no, I know it goes every other, but I
No,
don't know.
it sometimes goes every other and sometimes it gets a little thrown off when a month is shorter or longer.
May 27th. Okay,
So, all right.
maybe you should send the schedule out again.
Okay, let me make a note. No problem.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
No,
It's on your committee webpage, Pat.
Okay.
All right. Let's talk liaisons. So I did hear back from several committees who said that they would like liaison should one be available to serve. And I'm gonna have that open as I am talking through this. All right. And I apologize, I hadn't updated my spreadsheet as I was receiving those emails, so I will be doing that as we go through. So this is our 2024 liaison list, and we as GOL cannot, did I spell recommend wrong? Whatever. We as GOL determine which committees we would recommend do receive a liaison in 2025. Again, as a reminder, the counselor has to be interested in serving as a liaison to that committee. It's not a guaranteed placement, right? If they request one. So I think that the best way to go through this is just to go one by one. And if someone would like to speak up for a committee as we, a committee as we get there to say that they believe they should be recommended, I'm going to ask that you, you speak up and do so. All right. Does that sound good? Okay. No one has spoken up to say they want to do that. So I'm going to just go with it. All right. First off, Amherst Affordable Housing Trust Fund. We have had a liaison to this group in the past.
And I think it's an important committee to have a liaison for. And if it could be George again, it would be wonderful, but I don't know if that's something he wants.
Fair enough. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure that I've got my emails up. Alrighty. Amherst Cultural Council. Okay. Amherst Housing Authority. Sorry, I have my okay. Board of Assessors. Okay. Board of Health. Board of License Commissioners.
Well, Board of Health should have somebody, I believe. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And they recently changed their meetings, so Jennifer may be able to do it.
Okay. CDBG. Charter Review Committee. This is the one I went back and forth on charter review for a while.
I know, I have to.
But I think ultimately it's anyway, I'm not stepping up for it right now. Commission for Persons with Disabilities.
Yes, and I would like it to be me. I've already spoken with the committee and they would like me to stay.
Well, let's see what the council has to say.
Yeah, no, I'm just doing it.
All right. Community, well, you could attend as a member of the public and have even more ability, it sounds like. Community Preservation Act Committee. They have had one in the past.
Hmm.
I'm not, I gotta find Athena's email where she told me all the things. Okay. I will say yes to this one because I think it can be helpful. CSS.
Yeah, we can say yes, and if we don't get a counselor who wants to do it, that's, you know, that's just the way.
Absolutely. CSSJC.
I think they still need a liaison.
Conservation Commission.
Recommended, not received.
That means that last year GOL recommended them as one of the groups, but there were no interested counselors. I believe that this was, they were recommended last year because it was something to do with the solar bylaw or something like that. Like there was something that was going to come back to us. So. Council on Aging.
Yes, we need that.
Design Review Board. Elementary School Building Committee has a counselor member, but if anyone would like them to also receive a liaison. Energy and Climate Action Committee, I will say yes on this one because of their tie-in with the town manager goals. In terms of climate action goals, it's been helpful in the past to have a liaison there. Finance Committee has counselor, that is a council committee. Historical Commission did say, if I'm remembering my chairs correctly, yes, that they consulted with other members of the commission, and one member thought it would be helpful for counselors to understand what we do. Others agreed with the chair that the benefit to the commission and counselors was not worth the additional time commitment. We have enough, council has enough work without adding their meetings, so they did not request one. Human Rights Commission said they would like one.
Yeah, and I think they should have one.
Jones Library Building Committee has one. Local, or has a council member. Local Historic District Commission.
No,
Munson Memorial Building Trustees.
nope.
Give me a minute. We love Munson. Say that. We love Munson, not a reflection.
Oh, yeah, no, it's not a reflection.
Represent my district here. Personnel Board,
No,
Planning Board. Planning Board said they did not feel they needed one.
oh, so that's, this year they're saying they don't need one.
Correct.
Yeah. Their egos are big enough, they wouldn't listen or ask a liaison anything anyway.
Thank you for sharing your opinion on the matter, Pat. Public Arts Commission. Public Art Commission, sorry. Public Shade Tree Committee. Recreation Commission. I feel like this might be a yes, to be honest. We've talked a lot about the recreation components with youth empowerment. We've talked a lot with, you know,
There was 2 years ago, not this year, but the year before, I was liaison to that committee. So it could use a liaison, I think. And it has embedded itself positively in a lot of areas.
Registrar of Voters. Residents Advisory Committee.
They don't.
Transportation Advisory Committee did request one, and they requested, if possible, that they be from TSO.
Okay.
I would
So
support
that's a
it.
yes, right? You
Yeah,
did.
I mean, we don't have to give, even if they request one, we don't have to agree with it, but
No, but I think that's an important one.
I agree. Water Supply Protection Committee. And Zoning Board of Appeals. Oh, all right. Okay, hang on one second and let me look at the final list here.
Let me just go back to the Resident Advisory Committee. I mean, Transportation Advisory.
Yep.
That's the one that will dissolve if we move to the new commission.
Yes.
And that commission, the way it's being recommended right now, will have counselors on it.
So should we say yes until commission is formed?
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Oh my God, help me spell commission. MMISSION. Okay. So our committees are Commission for Persons with Disabilities, Transportation Advisory Committee until they are formed into a commission. Oh, and Pat will fight anybody else who wants to be liaison for the Commission with Persons with Disabilities. Amherst Affordable, just kidding, Housing Trust, Board
I'm not.
Board of Health, CPA, CSSJC, Council on Aging, Energy and Climate Action, Human Rights Commission, and Recreation Commission. All right. Is there a motion to recommend the following, those? I guess I'll list them out again if I have to, but is there a recommendation to motion to recommend the following 10 committees as to receive a liaison in 2025? I'm not going to list them all out. We read them. Is someone say so moved? Does someone have that motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second, DeAngelis.
Thank you. Second. All right, I'm going to call the vote. Counselor Ette,
Yes.
Pat,
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
and I am an I as well. Pat, I'm sorry. I said you'd fight somebody. I didn't mean it. All right. So thank you all. We will bring that to Lynn. I will just email you those names and we'll go from there. All right. So we still don't have okay, so the town manager evaluation process. Y'all, I know I am gonna get you nerdy things. Just know that those are coming. I am working my way through the stack and I don't want to send you, I printed them and they're like this many. So I am gonna get you the ones that are most relevant, and I'm trying to just do a quick proof of them first. But I hope that you took a moment to read through the evaluation form. I'm trying to determine the best process here. And what I would like to do is kind of hold two things at the same time, right? I want to hold the how do we design a process that best meets the needs that we have while not entirely scrapping the process that we've used before. And those two things kind of sometimes can be in conflict. So what I would like us to do, not necessarily tonight. I know that folks are feeling a bit antsy tonight, or not feeling great. So we can move this if we need to, but what I would like us to do is we're going to do this like any other solid project, right? We're going to think about what is our outcome that we're trying to get to, what do we want to end up with, and then what exists that we can pull in to do that, like, into that skeleton, right? And then, sorry, big truck. Okay. And then what do we need to build to pad that? Go ahead, Pat.
Yeah, I didn't know ages ago. We were asked to look at different towns and then sort of write
Yes.
up a little bit. Was I supposed to resend that to you? Because I did not, but I can.
If you can, that would be great.
Yeah.
I included that in my memo here.
Yeah.
I included the list of towns, but I hadn't, did I divide them
I
up?
had Chatham, Randolph, and Southbridge.
Awesome. Yeah.
So
So-
I'll send that. I'll send what I have. But
Yes. Great. Was anyone else able to dig into their towns by any chance? No? Okay. Yeah, it's your homework. So for the 27th, please, I assigned each of you 3 towns. I'd like you to look at their process. I linked where I knew there were links. Don't, bury yourself here in research. If you can't easily find it, that's okay. Just tell me you can't easily tell us you can't easily find it. But these are
Hello?
towns with, Pat, I'm gonna have you.
Yes, who is this?
Hang on. There she goes. Okay. I'm gonna have you don't feel like you need to necessarily reach out and call them, but I will ask you to bring the committee the information that you found from those towns in terms of what they do for their evaluation process for our next meeting on the 27th. If you would like it in the packet, please send it to me ahead of time. Otherwise, we'll place it in the packet after if you're sharing a Word doc. Sound good? Okay. And in that memo, I included some bullet points if you're looking for like, what am I looking for here? That included the length of their evaluations roughly, like how many questions are they asking? Are they looking for quantitative versus qualitative? What are they evaluating that town administrator or town manager on? So is it a set of goals? Is it a job description, etc.? If they're using goals, are they annual goals and who sets them? What's the final product? So right now we have a rating scale and comments. Is that similar? Do they have a similar report that goes out? Anything else of note, right? This might include, who else are they collecting data from? So we collect data from town employees, we collect data from the public, we collect data from town council. Are there other places that people are pulling, or do they just do a few, etc.? And then thinking about your own opinion as you look at these towns, what do you see as the merits and what are the disadvantages? What are the pros? What are the cons? So that we can kind of talk through that and have some benchmarking to look at there. All right. So I'm hopeful that we can really delve into that at our next meeting. All right. How are people feeling? Are we doing okay?
Uh-oh.
Well, I mean, I'm just trying to figure out whether I can't tell if there's an appetite to get into.
Councilor was shaking his head, so, and I know Lynn doesn't feel well.
I know.
Councilor, do you want to say something, or you just?
I think Anna was saying something about appetite, so it depends what is on the menu. I know what I don't have appetite for.
So here's the thing. We can, if we choose to move the reparations committee charge to our next meeting, we have a couple other really meaty things that we are digging into. We don't have as much in June, but there are a few other, we would have hypothetically, the public urination bylaw. I'm so excited about it. We did Urinetown in high school and I'm all about it now.
So this is gonna allow us to urinate where we please. I like that.
Well, I mean, GOL can look. I think we're only reviewing for clarity and consistency, so. Never mind, I'm gonna stop making jokes now. We also will be doing the town manager evaluation process and the rules of procedure. So I don't know if there are any other proclamations that are coming. If people feel like we are going to be focused and on it,
Juneteenth,
what?
Juneteenth.
Juneteenth, thank you. Juneteenth. Councilor Arte?
I was waiting for you to finish, but I'll wait for you to finish.
Okay. Unless other things really jump our way, I think that it's okay if we push this to the 27th. However, we will really need to focus, especially on the town manager evaluation process, to get that done sooner rather than later, so the council can approve any. Does the council need to approve any changes to that process? Yeah. So, and that folks can start it before we know it, which is wild. So there will start to be a bit of time pressure this summer, but if people are not going to be able to put their heads into it tonight, the AHRA successor body charge is one that requires good headspace. Pat?
Well, that's my question. I missed a couple of meetings, so I don't know where we are with it, but it looks like counselors gave feedback and it came back to GOL. It seems like we could go through that fairly easily, actually, from the edits, the requested edits from some of the three counselors who sent, but I wasn't at the council meeting and stuff either, so.
Yeah, so I had asked people to, if they had feedback, to please send it as tracked changes documents. I included those in your packet. And yeah, I mean, we can definitely go through all of them and start going through all of them. If people want, we could just say we're going to commit a half an hour tonight and go with that, maybe. Maybe. All right, let's do that. I'm gonna set a timer. We'll see where we get. We'll still leave you early. Let me just combine these documents because otherwise this is gonna be a bit maddening. So if people need a bio break or something, I'm gonna need 2 minutes to do this. So if you need to take a break, I'm gonna be quiet for 2 minutes while I do this. And you can step away for a moment. All right. We're gonna come back in a second. Hang on. Okay, I'm not sure. Nothing. Everything will be in there. I just may not know who did what. All right.
Now, is Michelle Miller joining us?
She is not here. I'm not sure. But we're not going to finish this today. So if we have questions, let's note them. And we can make sure to ask her her thoughts. Okay. So I'm gonna just reject. Andy noted that his edits were his edits, so I'm rejecting that. Okay. So Mandy noticed we missed something in the title, which is fine to change. Okay. Mandy with the spacing. All right. A lot of people want to change 2 years to 3 years. We had 3 years, then we changed it to 2 years, and people want it to be 3 years again.
Okay,
So thoughts on this? We like 3, we like 2. Thoughts?
I think we go with 3 since that's what is wanted, and in the memo to the council, we can just speak about it as an area where there's room for debate.
I'm fine with that, and I will add that comment in. I will say that I would please bear in mind that these comments are from 3 counselors, and GOL comprised of 5 counselors also voted for 2 years. So I just want us to make sure that we're not just going with all comments, assuming that they are kind of what the majority wants. I don't have a strong opinion on this. I just wanted to make sure people knew this is from three counselors vote comments. Counselor Ate?
Exactly the same thing. I think if I fall asleep and wake up, I might have a different view on it.
Do we
can
want
anybody tell me why people wanted 3 years?
It's more consistent with other committees.
Yeah, which makes sense, and it also seems to me that we have trouble filling committees. And so having people on for a longer term seems reasonable. I
So
mean, I don't know what happened in the meeting or anything, so I'm just responding as myself.
no, that's fine. I think that, Pat, the same reason was given for moving it to 2 years. Is that part of why people were, um,
Hesitant to be in a committee?
was because it was 3 years of a commitment. But the consistency with other committees is fair, and the nature of this work is going to take a lot of time. So, you know, I can understand why 3 years would be compelling. Counselor.
Given the nature of the committee and the fact that it's dealing with recommendations regarding funds, then the length of time actually matters, maybe even more than some of the other committees. And today, I think 2 would be fine.
Because,
Um, if the committee is going to be making recommendations and perhaps these recommendations are each year, then it might be helpful to have some kind of change in the body so that different parts of the town or different ideas can flow through.
yeah, that makes sense. The one thing I was, as you were speaking, and thank you for the reason, the first council was for 3 years. And it seems like initially this committee has a great deal of work to do to set up structures, et cetera, et cetera. Would it be valuable for the first committee to be a 3-year committee and then have it switching every 2 years? Or is that just, I mean, I like the idea. I think there's good, your reason is a strong one to keep it at 2. So when, yeah, so it doesn't get entrenched.
Why don't we know this is going to take a couple meetings, so why don't we pause here and say that we're going to come back to this one, sleep on it.
Okay.
Because it's interesting, it feels like everybody's going back and forth, because now I'm like, well, yeah, if CPA is 3 years, you know, I'm kind of thinking through this differently too. So, okay. I think Mandy had added in economic development or entrepreneurship as one of the, oh no, or we added this in last time, I think.
It's a good addition.
Because it's one of the recommendations. So we like this idea. Okay, great. So the purpose statement, I also have an email from one counselor who did not follow my rules and send me track changes. Hang on, let me find it. The purpose statement has a lot of discussion happening here. So let's discuss. And I'm going to put this counselor's suggested language in a comment so that I don't lose it. Okay. Sorry, I will make this bigger. I was trying to go back and forth. So, one commenter had stated to delete implement reparations in Amherst. Another author had there's a lot of deletions happening here.
Mhm.
Let's take them one by one. First deletion was a suggestion to delete implement reparations in Amherst. So basically the person who made the suggestion, the charge would read, I see you, Lynn, 1 second. The charge would read, ABRC's mission is to make recommendations to the town council on the expenditure of the reparations stabilization fund for reparations for harms caused by support of slavery and post-reconstruction discrimination by the town, residents, businesses, and other Amherst associated entities, including considerations of areas, etc. Lynn?
I think the biggest thing that occurred to me as we were talking about this at the council is this really is a body to decide how to dispense money, to recommend how to dispense money. And having this more broad, vague charge opens a door for some stuff I don't think we should be doing.
Anyone else? Counselor Ate?
I was just hoping that Lynn could explain a bit more what she means.
Yeah,
We have one committee that we created with a very broad charge. And I'm not clear it served them well or the council well. And when we leave in something that suggests that they should be making broad recommendations about reparations, not outside the fund, I think we open up a door that just isn't easy to manage. It's clear
So-
to have this group be focused on the fund.
so is to make, so it isn't to implement reparations, it is to make recommendations. Is that what you're saying? Or
On
were
expenditures.
people upset about the international human rights standards?
Yeah, no.
Because
it's to
I looked
make
those up and,
recommend-
pardon me?
It's to make recommendations to the town council on the expenditure of the fund. That's it.
Well, I think then that's your opinion on what the
Yeah,
purpose.
it is. And that's one of the things that I think started to emerge at the last council meeting.
Right. I think that's the root of this, right? Is like, are we saying that this committee is here to implement reparations how it sees fit based on those human rights standards and the report, including making recommendations, or is the purpose of this group to make recommendations for expenditures of funds, and not pursue reparations projects outside of the expenditure of those funds? Am I summarizing the kind of the two options? Yeah. So those are the two pathways in this purpose statement, and I think that's where we need to be very clear. And it seems like I know that there are counselors based on these comments that would like it to be very clear that it is just about expenditure, making recommendations for the expenditure of funds. And that's what this other comment, I believe, was getting at here as well. They would like to reword this to the following. It includes the addition of by providing support and advice as they seek to address the harms. So it's kind of saying the same thing in different words. So what does this committee think in terms of saying it's about making, I keep wanting to say the word it's limited to, but I don't mean that in a negative connotation. But I mean, like, the bounds are this group is making recommendations on expenditure of funds, or this group is implementing reparations as including making recommendations for the expenditure of funds. Those are the two options. Pat, I can't hear you, but you're not muted.
No, I was moving my
Oh.
mouth. I was reading silently. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I thought my computer broke.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
It does seem like the committee's mission is to make recommendations. But the other way of saying it is to help implement reparations by providing support and advice to the town council as they seek to address the harms caused. Or is that? Mhm.
I'm actually rethinking what I said before. I don't know that this statement is necessarily saying the same thing.
It's not saying the same
This
thing.
is the third
no.
option.
That may, I guess one of the things I'm struggling with any committee, the ECAC, Community Safety and Social Justice, they do a tremendous amount of work, and they create reports and therefore believe across the board that everything should be implemented as they recommend it. And I don't think that's possible always. Maybe in an ideal world or a town with a lot of money. So I'm hesitant, I'm getting more and more hesitant to make, or I want committees, I want to help them understand that they're making recommendations. and the body of the council makes the decisions on what they're going to do, whether it's the stabilization fund and distribution of funds, or in terms of energy and climate action. So I'd love to hear from Councilor Ette.
Yeah, Councilor Ette?
I'm thinking of this in a question. So if what we have is possibly a committee to make recommendations regarding a fund, that's the scope of what they're doing. Is it that the town is not, is it that the town is moving away from the idea of reparations beyond the stabilization fund, or is that going to be something that would be carried out by other committees or perhaps other bodies within the town? So what happens if we restrict the scope of the committee? What ends up happening with what is left?
The non-monetary reparations.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point.
You can always expand it, and particularly if at some point there were some national movement around reparations, which doesn't seem very likely right now, but that could change.
But why then do we create a charge that doesn't include that? Why do we?
You can always expand the charge.
Yeah, but you can also always contract a charge.
No,
If it's
so
not
much harder.
working.
It's so much harder to retract. It's to make a charge smaller.
All right, Councilor Ette?
Yes, in theory, it is, you can expand or restrict a charge, but chances are once you've had a taste of the fruits, you're not going back. And so I align more with a restriction for now. It's clearer, it becomes easier to determine how the committee is succeeding at its role and perhaps what could be done to expand afterwards. But for something more expansive, one, I don't think that there will be broad council support for an expansive charge. And I don't know how that's going to play within the town in general. So I lean towards something more restrictive.
I think my curiosity, I want to go back and look at just how many recommendations were in that report that do not carry monetary expenditure needs. And I am of two minds here, as apparently I am of everything in this report. I think it actually makes this job more doable for this committee to make this more restrictive. I think it focuses the work of the committee. However, I don't want to lose those recommendations that may not fit under this category. But my concern with keeping them in is also that we're creating an impossible task, right? We're saying you need to both be able to focus on creating a system for distributing funds and at the same time pursue XYZ. And this committee could then, making recommendations for expenditure of funds is a very serious business. And we want them to be able to do that consistently and create a really strong process for doing it. All of the other recommendations in the AHRA report take time and energy, even if they don't take expenditure of funds. So I think the question is, can this committee, are we creating a workload that's not doable? Or are we creating a situation where we have a committee adding things to the to-do list of our already very overworked town staff in terms that they would like to see implemented? And I think that while there are really, really excellent recommendations, we don't want to have our committees dictating the work of our staff in that way. So I struggle to say like who's going to do it, right? If it's not this committee or whoever. It's a half-formed thought. Please be a safe space for me to share those. But that's kind of where I'm at is I don't want to lose those recommendations, but I'd like to know where they can be directed if not this committee. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm sitting here wondering, CPA money, people put in proposals to CPA. CPA looks at those proposals and then makes recommendations to the council.
Right.
So these other areas, other even non-monetary ways of addressing reparations, couldn't they be brought up to this committee in a similar way, even if it involves funds, yes, that's direct one-on-one correlation to CPA. But if I got together with a group of elementary school students and we did a project on American slavery, and they created a play or something like that, they didn't need funding for that specifically, but I don't know what I'm talking about. Never mind. I'm just trying, you don't want to lose good ideas, but I think,
So I'm going to write our comment here. What I'm picking up from folks is that generally there seems to be support for making the purpose pretty clear cut and simple. But there is concern about losing good recommendations from the AHRA. Sorry, I'm like the acronyms that bounced in my head right then. There's concern about losing good recommendations from the AHRA that might not fit under this category. And we want to make sure that we are addressing that, whether in this charge or elsewhere. Is that okay? So generally, committee is in support of simplifying the purpose as shown, but has concerns about, look at this, I'm almost writing my report right now, but has concerns about recommendations that may not fit under category of expenditure. Whatever. I know what it means. I know what it means. Okay. So I'm not asking you to vote on this, but that's generally where we're starting to lean, and we'll vote on this in our next meeting. Okay. Okay, there's not a lot of changes in the priority areas. Let's talk funding. Mandy, with your formatting. Okay. So, okay. Determine whether allocations would be made annually or biennial. This person wrote, biennial would allow for more substantial funding. It would also enable approval of multi-year programs without the need for annual applications.
Yeah, that should be part of what they're doing, is deciding that.
So, yeah, because CPA will only pay for something over a couple years if it's borrowing to do so. If it's an ongoing program, they have to apply every year. Is that right? It's been a long time since I was on CPA, but I do remember programs coming back year after year. But now I'm not positive on that. I worry about limiting it to biennial. Like, I would rather specify that this, I guess I just don't like the idea of biennial. I want to come up with a better solution, because we don't want this fund to be covering operating costs, but biennial means that if someone comes up with a really great idea in an off year, they're stuck, or need to address a need. Lynn?
It says they should determine. It's asking the committee to debate this. And I think that's a good debate for this committee. And the other thing I would say is annual, comma, biannual or multi-year. And then, it's one of the things they would recommend.
Do we really have to have parentheses every other year?
I don't think so.
Always the question of, is it every other year, or is it twice a year?
Yeah, biannual and biennial. So I think it
Yeah.
helps. It helps everyone.
All right. You're
I'm
next, I'm not.
I guess I would just be very, very concerned if the group did choose biennial, and so I would rather just nix the idea up front. Just being honest. All right.
Good.
Establish a budget for the annual or biennial. Can I just say for the total expenditure?
Yeah.
Okay. This is essential. The committee and applicants need to know what the budget is for each round of applications. Is it budget or is it okay, let's think this through here. So is it amount of the drawdown? Is it budget? Is it like, what is this? What does budget mean?
I don't know.
Is it just a goal for total expenditure?
Good question.
Okay, I'm gonna write, I'll write down that we have a question. New comment. Is not sure whether this means the amount drawn down from the fund, a recommended total expenditure amount, or something else. Okay. So we are just about at our half an hour mark. We're at the end of a page. Do people want to continue on through the end of this paragraph?
I'd like to. No, all right, I will.
No. Yeah, my head moves in different ways. I think once you've started the meal, you just have to
Keep
finish
going.
it. So
All right.
let's get it.
Let's keep going then. Okay. You're meaning keep going, right? You don't mean stop. Okay. Okay. So this person added in establish a process for we had, and they added evaluating programs seeking continued support from the Reparations Stabilization Fund. So this gets at that like multi-year people coming back. Determine, we have this twice, I think. Determine an annual or biennial budget for total project support from the Reparations Stabilization Fund. So this is under funding and doubled here.
We don't need it in both places, I don't think.
Okay. I'm gonna write duplicate question mark. And then if an allocation to a well, something's off here, but if an allocation is given to a multi-year ongoing project or program, establish a process to evaluate. How would that be different than evaluating every other project and determining whether it gets funding? I don't know that we should, I don't know if it's fair to have a totally different rubric. This is why I don't want to do multi-year projects, honestly. This is why I want to say no from the start to those.
Mm.
I think it gets too messy. And I think you start funding operating budgets, and then I think it gets really hard to say no when you've done a 5-year chunk and now you're asked for another 5-year chunk. It's hard doing it year by year too, but this is where I think that automatically opening the door for multi-year funding makes this really messy. And it could tie the hands of the committee if they read it too many.
Yeah, because if something new came up that was really valuable, it couldn't,
Right.
it might not.
Right. So personally, I'm not in support of even including multi-year projects in here.
Sure.
But
Okay, well,
that is my opinion. I'm not saying that the committee believes that. But I do have an issue generally with this because I don't think that multi-year projects should be evaluated differently than.
no, they should be evaluated the same way.
Am I hearing, is there any disagreement with that before I say committee is leaning towards this needing to be the same? Okay. I mean, I also just worry that, like, in terms of expertise on the topic, like, there's so many reasons why I don't feel like this committee should be evaluating the success of multi-year programs other than to get funding. Same issue. Evaluate success of previously funded reparations programs. Uh, How? Counselor Ette?
I think at this point we could delete that. It's covered, if my memory serves me well, by something that we've just recently looked at. It seems to be covered by other stuff.
Oh, sorry, Lynn.
I think this is reflecting on, for instance, the council wanting an evaluation of CRESS. I think it's also one of the programs that people have talked about recently that they would possibly want to see these funds used for is the morning movement program. Excuse me, the morning movement program. And if that were the case, then you'd want to make sure that there was some data suggesting its success. So I'm not. I think we should say that it's if a program seeks additional funding or
Or ongoing funding.
ongoing funding, it needs to have an evaluation, something like that.
Sorry, but these groups are applying for funds. So they have to show that they're going to work in order to apply for the funds. Like if we're mirroring CPA, we are not asking our CPA applicants for anything other than the application, and then we have questions on the application. So I worry that we're putting an added layer of scrutiny beyond an application to receive the funds in the first place. It feels like undue scrutiny a bit, right? If they don't have the numbers to show that their program is successful and they reapply for funds, they're likely not to get those funds, right? But if they reapply for more funding, they come with that data to show why it works. I'm struggling to see I'm struggling to see why this needs its own separate bullet outside of the application process for funds. But I want to jot down, Lynn, what you said. Members stated, Counselor Ette, go ahead.
Yeah, you're muted.
The very first bullet points on the page speaks of evaluating programs seeking continued support. Of
Down.
that same page.
Thank you.
Evaluating programs seeking continued support. And so to evaluate a program will require determining if it is successful or not. And so I don't think this is needed. As
Yeah,
it is, or if it is, it's already covered by some of the other things that we have looked at.
Yeah. Yeah, because if it's multi-year or a single year, we're still asking for an evaluation of the program, seeking continued support.
Yeah. I do worry a little bit just about the phrase evaluating programs, just because again, like, how do we make sure we're looking at evaluating or doing an assessment on Crest after X number of years, right? And we are contracting out. That is like evaluating programs is a serious, sorry, these loud motorcycles. Hang on. Okay. It was a Tuesday motorcycle club. So evaluating programs is a really serious business that a lot of people make a lot of money doing. I want to make sure that we are evaluating them within the context of receiving funds. And so that's why
Mm.
this feels a bit more appropriately phrased to me. I would still rather it say like evaluate program applications or something, evaluate applications seeking something that's clear that we are not asking them to determine whether or not a program has merit. We are asking them to determine whether the program should receive funding.
Hmm.
Those are two different things in my mind. They're overlapping, but they're still separate.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Um, uh, okay. I still just hate the multi-year thing.
Yeah. So on, if an allocation to a multi-year, I think we're saying we should eliminate that. Because all programs, programs seeking continued support would.
What's the word we use? Evaluated. Okay. All right.
Should it say all applications seeking support are evaluated before receiving funding, or, never mind, it's fine.
Okay. The ABRC shall report annually regarding the following: progress towards proposing recommendations, priority levels, and feasibility. So this is, in my mind, if we change that, the charge just to making recommendations on the expenditure of funds, is this still relevant? Like, this was the whole first piece, was for them to go through the recommendations from the AHRA final report. But if we're just saying focus on the expenditure of funds, what are they going to do with that information? And I worry about the loss of that.
Yeah,
It's almost like we need two
well,
committees.
there's this thing again, because the committee is being created. So where are they in the process of proposing or creating the recommendation guidelines, the priority levels and feasibility? That has to happen.
So I think the question, sorry, my internet got squirrely again. The question is, then what? Like, priority levels for whom to do what? Feasibility, like, who is taking
Yeah.
action if we're not saying this group takes action? This is where I think that it would be helpful to have Hala here and have Michelle here, both former members of AHRA.
Mhm.
But that's my concern about this, is like, I understand the reason why we would want to put the charge to be like this, but we lose the entire part of determine the priorities.
Yeah.
What's the purpose of doing that? I don't, and maybe I'm missing something. I'm happy to be missing something, but I don't know.
Ugh. I keep getting stuck, and this is not going to be helpful, is this, once this committee is formed, they have to be doing all of that to become this regular committee that has this process for recommending funds. So they can't not discuss priorities and feasibility, all of that stuff, all the way, all this stuff from the beginning. Yes, their goal ultimately is to make recommendations about the distribution of the money. But what leads up to that is their responsibility.
So are you seeing the review of the recommendations as leading to their qualifications for receiving funding? And I say that because I think the recommendations had those broad areas that kind of that mirror the qualifications that we talked about for committee members at the
Mhm.
time. Like these, right? They mirrored these areas, but there were very specific recommendations made in that report. So
Yeah.
are we saying that we are hoping this committee will take those specific recommendations and make them the qualifications in order to receive
Mhm.
funding?
Yeah.
Have to
Yeah.
pursue these designated projects? Or are we like, or do those just sit there now until someone chooses to look at them without the council having said, we like this one? Lynn?
See, one of the things we've never adopted, this is the issue that we run in with the CSSJC, is whether or not we really ever adopted and agreed to some of the recommendations. And I think that that's where we're getting into the issue of, is this a group to look at the funds and the distribution of the funds based on some of the recommendations that were in the report, or is it a broader group? And I think the council became pretty uncomfortable with the broader group.
But then if they're uncomfortable with the broader group, where do those other recommendations go?
They could emerge down the road with an expansion from the committee. I've seen committees do that. But again, we already discussed, get this group to focus on the fund.
Getting the fund up and running and guidelines for
Right.
evaluating proposals and then making recommendations to the council. So operating like CPA.
Right.
And then yeah. Oy. Somehow or other, when I read this earlier today, it seems so good to me. I'm feeling like this is totally, I'm totally discombobulated, but not negatively by this discussion, but I'm just,
I think my challenge is that I feel that the AHRA was actually concluded prematurely. I think the feasibility and priority level of the recommendations, I would have liked to have seen come from the AHRA group. And I think it feels a bit like that was a really great report, and I understand how much work and time and that they might want to break. And at the same time, I think it's challenging to kind of chase both avenues at once. So it would have been helpful to have them kind of coming to us prioritized and feasibility having been studied. But I get it that they had a time limit. So I worry that again, it is intentions may be very good, but it's hard to go back in time and expand committees, especially when we know that we are asking a lot of this body. I know it's insane, but it still seems like this is two committees or another group needs to
yeah.
be tasked with this. I agree that having this body be really specific makes sense, but I don't want to lose the other pieces of that report and the work that goes into determining all the things that we talked about here, right?
Yeah.
So, um, uh, um, looking at feasibility in connection to harms being repaired, determine legality, consider, and then getting to funding priorities. But those pieces are this, I don't know. Maybe I need to spend more time with it. I can keep thinking on it, but
It's not ready to go back to the council. I think we need to do more.
no,
work
no, 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 no,
and-
no, I
yeah.
know. No, definitely not. And I want to hear from Michelle and other folks who worked on this a lot too. I don't want to, I'd like their voices to be part of, I'd like to hear feedback from them.
Mhm.
So the piece of report, I'm just so uncomfortable with this wording. Evaluation of programs receiving support. We don't get that from CPA. We get a report of who they are recommending. I don't think that it's
Yeah.
fair for us to suddenly be asking more of a group that's doing reparations. If we're mirroring this after CPA, I think the expectations need to be similar, or we need to be placing additional expectations on CPA. So I think that it's fair to say, recommendations for programs to receive support. That's fine. But I don't think that we need to be receiving evaluations of programs. I disagree with this statement. Any other thoughts on this one? Like, I think this group could, in 5 years, say, let's look at the impact that we've had and do those studies. But that to me feels different than program evaluations. I really do worry about that.
Hold on.
Any other thoughts on the reports piece? The work on pursuing reparative projects was struck because this group would not be pursuing reparative projects. And this also includes, someone suggested adding recommended revisions to the ABRC charge. Any thoughts on this?
Are other committees asked to make recommendations on revisions to their charges?
I don't believe that that is written into other committee charges, but I believe that it's something that we've been trying to make more of a practice of doing.
Okay,
Of revising charges. This seems like one way to start getting at that.
gotcha.
I-
My dog is getting a little crazy, so I might have to step
No
away.
worries. I think we're about to wrap up. So we're gonna come back to this. Would it be appropriate for me to let me stop sharing, to share this kind of in progress, hang on, discussed 513 ABRC charge with,
Hang on there.
if you need to step away, it's okay.
Yeah.
So I'll try to talk to Michelle, and I will share this with Hala to make sure that she sees it. It'll also go into our next packet. Think on this, and maybe we can get some clarity on some of the statements made, but I'd like to hear some additional thoughts on the specifically that narrowing and the implications of that on the work that this body will do. Any other comments before we move away from ABRC? Okay. All right. That is the end of our list. So you have homework. I have homework. We all have homework. Homework number 1 is to look at the rules of procedure.
Yeah, we got it.
I'm going to repeat it. Homework number 2 is to look at your towns that were assigned to you in the memo and think about all their processes and review all the other things. Homework number 3 is to spend all your spare time thinking about that ABRC charge and how those changes might be sitting with you. I can send the marked up version to the committee. It will be going in our next packet, but if that's helpful, we had a lot of comments in there, so I'm happy to send that to folks if they would like it. And I think that's your homework. Okay. Thank you all very much. It's 8:11. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. I'm going to call the vote. Counselor Ette,
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
I am an aye, and Pat
Aye.
is 4 in favor, none opposed, 1 absent. All right. Thank you all very, very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
I'm running. Bye.
Good night.